Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. Today I'm broadcasting live from VMware Explore here in Barcelona. There are many sessions, activities, programs, all aimed at guiding businesses on their journey to the multi-cloud. And there are so many big announcements here today. And the topic that seems to be on everyone's lips right now is private AI. A lot of big discussions about that. And we will touch on it in today's conversation. But what I really want to focus on is C-suite's priorities towards cloud innovation this year, and also the major challenges and opportunities for organisations that are investing in the cloud. And I've got two great guests who will be helping me unpack this topic that I've found on the show floor. Martin is VMware's Chief Technologist Cloud, EMEA, but he's also recognised as a thought leader within the hybrid cloud and multi-cloud communities. And he's also a regular speaker at industry events, not to mention the author of 4 books, dozens of papers, blogs and articles based on VMware and other technologies. But joining him today, I've also got Gavin, CEO, co-founder of a company called Xtravirt, which is a modern consulting and managing services firm that is dedicated to delivering outcomes that help customers solve their IT challenges and also design and build strategies to help customers unlock the full potential of cloud and business. So no matter where you're listening in the world, it's time for me to say those words. Buckle up and hold on tight, because it's time for me to beam your ears all the way to Barcelona, where you can join me, Gavin and Martin, as we unpack this topic together. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do? And Martin, you go first.
Yeah, hi, I'm Martin Hosken. I'm the Chief Technologist for Cloud for VMware EMEA. So that's all of our cloud route to markets and our multi-cloud management portfolio come under me.
Perfect. And Gavin.
Yeah, hi. So my name's Gavin Jolliffe. I'm the CEO of Xtravirt, lifecycle services company, VMware specialist partner. I lead the corporate strategy, and I'm executive sponsor to some of our key partners and customers.
And obviously I've got you both in the same room today. So I'd love for you to offer a bit of an overview of the partnership between VMware and Xtravirt, and how it all began and why it's mutually beneficial. I feel there's a story there somewhere, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so I'll start with honesty. So I've been working with VMware technology since 2003, which instantly dates me. I appreciate that. But I formed Xtravirt as a specialist VMware services partner in 2008. And actually, it was very early on we created a relationship to help customers navigate complex transformational journeys. So our role and our goal is to work strategically with customers and VMware and be really that trusted lifecycle partner. We're wanting to help customers transform, operate, and evolve their businesses in a better way than they've ever been able to before. And the reason it's mutually beneficial is that we're aligned to the same outcome, that customers get the best outcomes from their technology investments, but adopting and consuming VMware technology in the best way possible.
Fantastic. I'm curious, for what you're both seeing here, what's influencing the shift in C-suite's priorities towards cloud innovation this year? Because there's a lot of conversation going everywhere we turn at the moment. But Martin, what are you hearing and seeing?
Yeah, so cloud doesn't stand still. It evolves and changes continuously. And the conversations we have now about cloud are different from the ones we had 10 years ago. For example, ESG is a huge conversation now. We both from a legislative perspective and from a responsibility perspective, organizations are taking their carbon footprint seriously and how they reduce that in their data centers. Also, sovereignty and where the data actually resides and who has jurisdictional control over that data. Those are some of the key conversations that we have now that we probably weren't having, 5 or 10 years ago.
And Gavin, from the conversations you're having on the show floor, what are you seeing?
So both the show floor and the coalface with our customers, I'd echo Martin's statements, absolutely. So if I take maybe a slightly different angle, things that we're seeing influence organizations' investment this year, I would probably take 2 lenses. One is that we've obviously had a massive impact with inflation, interest rate hikes, increase of wages, decrease in government spending in some areas. So that whole free and cheap cash has gone away. So actually deployed investment has to be applied way smarter and work even harder to generate those returns. So we've seen IT under a lot greater scrutiny from the business in terms of approving that spend. If I take the sort of the broader sort of macro viewpoint, we're still dealing with the ripples of COVID and world events. And so what we're seeing is it's driving at this continual business shift in priorities. So we know that, what might have been a priority last year may not be a priority this year because they're reacting and responding to unplanned events. So what organizations are thinking, they're going, well, if I make this investment, how agile is it? How flexible is it? Where am I going to get my return from it now?
Such good points. Just to bring in VMware's latest research, I was reading before we came here that it revealed that 9 in 10 European businesses now see FinOps skills as crucial in accelerating cloud innovation. Yet, 64% can't find the skills to do so. So, Marty, can you share any insights on why financial and technical expertise is proving so difficult to obtain?
Yeah, and like Gavin was speaking a moment ago, everyone is becoming very cash aware, cost aware of everything. And the world, as we move into a multi-cloud world, where most large, medium organizations are consuming multiple different public clouds, you have to become cost aware of that and how you manage that. Most application developers, most infrastructure people don't really think about the cost of things when they're deploying them. So having a mechanism, having a process for managing costs is going to become really, really crucial. It's crucial today, but as we have more diverged infrastructure, and each of those infrastructures costs are different, the models are different, the agreements are different from a consumption perspective, the complexity here is just going to grow, and managing that complexity is difficult. And of course, there are tools out there that can help you manage that complexity, but really you need people as well, people who will operationally be able to maintain environment at an optimum level. Let me give you an example. If we had to build a new application to meet a customer requirement, how you build that application today will matter for the next 5 or 10 years, how much it costs to host that application, whether it's in your data center or public cloud. The cost of that has to be considered day one and not in 3 years' time when you realize, actually, we're not getting much business value out of this application. How do we change it? So taking that mindset and bringing it back to the application, the origins of the application is going to be key. And it's people that do that and not just tooling that does that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of awareness around cybersecurity skills shortage, but not so much that. Do you think there needs to be greater awareness and people would need to be shouting about this?
Yeah, and again, I guess the people who work in our industry, the people at the coalface who are managing, VMware environments, AWS environments, Azure environments, their skills are becoming more and more divergent. They're having to build more and more skills to be able to do that. It's not just about deploying infrastructure, deploying storage anymore. It's actually knowing how to optimize that and how to choose the right storage for the right use case, because the cost implications of that and the security implications, as you say, are key.
Yeah, 100%. And Gavin, what would you say are some of the other major challenges and equally opportunities for organizations that might be considering investing in the cloud today?
I think there's a great question, by the way. And I can look at it from sort of two sides. On one side, not being strategic enough, being rolling tactical, and some of that's driven by some of the macro things we've seen. But also, where you have a strategic plan that looks fantastic on paper, but can't necessarily be executed. Now we see a lot of customers struggling with the overwhelming need for skills, new skills, business capabilities. So the ability to plan strategically for that and execute that, is super, super hard. I think one of the opportunities is to really be able to step back and think beyond minimum viable. We've seen in the past there's this fantastic array and capability of technology. The problems are really technological ones there. Business process, system capability, organization that will help drive that adoption. And actually, rather than seeing, in fact, what VMware does fantastically is create these advanced capability platforms, not seeing them as a collection of tools, and actually work out a path and a journey to be able to adopt them in a way that makes sense for the business. Because otherwise you get 3 years down the track and you've got, wow, I've used the most amazing bit of storage technology. Oh, yeah, so what? There's some fantastic technology that sits above that will make a difference to your business.
Yeah, 100%. And Martin, are you seeing very similar things, I would imagine?
Yeah, the data centers are full of the latest technology from 10 years ago. And they still have to be managed and operated today. If you walk through a typical data center, it's almost like walking through a museum of technology. And we forget, so much of the IT industry and events like this are focused on the very new stuff, the latest capabilities. But we almost always forget about what makes businesses run is the stuff that's been sitting in a data center and running for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's where the revenue comes from. So it's always a balance between finding the right approach of maintaining, existing infrastructure strategically and tactically, and also what's coming next and balancing between the two things. We never switch anything off in the technology industry. Everything has to coexist. Everything from if you talk to a typical bank, everything from the 4 or 5 different mainframe systems that they have, to the physical servers, to the proprietary hardware that they have to put in to meet compliance requirements, everything is evolves and builds on what came before. And therefore, we have to always think about the entire ecosystem, not just the shiny thing that's just coming down the road.
That's such a great point. If I could just jump in, because it was such a great point. We're too quick to call things legacy, and we stick it in a legacy bucket and we go chase the new. The reality is, for most organizations, that their key enterprise applications that are driving the underlying business might only get 3 or 4 change cycles a year. It's doing the job that it's designed to do. Why decompile it? Why replatform it? It's the cost of actually doing that is just not worth it for customers. So we've stopped calling things legacy, and we've started thinking about heritage, the stuff that sits in the data center that has continual long-term value. And what about supporting that, modernizing your modern cloud with your private cloud capabilities, rather than just creating a potential cost issue by thinking that there's a one-size-fits solution?
Yeah, I suspect there's IT teams listening all around the world nodding and everything you said there. But just going back to what we were talking about a moment ago and the skills shortage, what do you think the current state of the labour market is in terms of cloud recruitment skills? And what do you think is needed of talent in order to translate cloud services into cloud value?
So from a multidisciplinary services organisation, we've seen probably a reflection of what the market's gone through. You've got this rolling perennial global skills deficit that got massively amplified with COVID and with public cloud. And what we've seen is the creation of many, many new roles and role families, but also you've seen a number of the traditional disciplines being broken down into sub and niche disciplines. And that's creating a massive addition and strain. So what you see is in the market, a lot of confusion, a lot of role terms and descriptions that mean very, very different things. And we're seeing businesses that are struggling to identify the capabilities they need to be able to actually achieve those objectives. So I think certainly in terms of recruitment, we see talent as one part of it, but actually there's a real need for business sponsorship to get a better idea of the business value that they're expecting from IT and being able to have a much stronger line of communication. And that way we don't end up with square peg round hole kind of situations of the labour market. And I think bridging between ops and finance requires actually a different operating model rather than a different person. Investment in broader training across the company. We saw it with customer success. Customer success for us is a journey for the customer through advisory, consulting, into managed services. It's a whole life cycle journey. We individually carry that customer success baton. They can't hire a customer success team because that's a small part of the touch point with the overall customer. So we have to enable the entire organization to be able to understand what that looks like. And I think Philips kind of sits in a similar...
Yeah. And Mark, again, seen very similar thing?
Yeah, if you ask a typical CIO, CTO type of character, they, one of the top challenges they face is finding skills. I spoke yesterday a number of different sessions about repatriation, and one of the key blockers to repatriation is skills. People who don't know how to build infrastructure anymore. People don't know how to rack servers, cable, configure switches anymore. So those are key considerations. And as Gavin said, we've now created so many different, very specialist roles in technology. Finding people with broad experience and broad skills is really challenging. It's the way I grew up in technology was doing everything. Configuring switches, configuring storage, learning as you went along. Those opportunities to do that wide variety of things doesn't really exist in most organizations anymore. You're very pigeonholed and siloed, and you develop a very narrow skill set. So that is a challenge as we evolve over the next decade or so. When we have graduates coming out of college, getting their first roles and they're having a very narrow skill set in those roles, how they develop their careers will be interesting to see, because, you know, they become siloed because they know about one thing.
Wow, I didn't realise that belts and braces approach to IT is on the decline. So, I mean, you've pretty much just answered this, but I was going to ask, is there still a place for traditional cloud skills like DevOps when recruiting cloud experts? And maybe provide an example of, in practice, of how they can be augmented with FinOps skills, such as accountings, analytics, the list goes on, but how do you see it all coming together?
So I think, you know, we have traditionally talked about a cloud center of excellence. It has a different range of skills in them. One of those skills that has to be sitting across a cloud center of excellence is FinOps. But of course, all of these different elements, you mentioned them, DevOps there, the development cycle, development, the FinOps, even the machine learning and, you know, ML aspects of this. Most data sources are going to have some sort of attached machine learning, deep learning capability on them in the next 5 to 10 years. So having these skills all sitting within a cloud center of excellence is going to be key, and having the right sort of, you know, approach, the right sort of attitude, the right sort of people, the right sort of leadership in that is really key. You know, leadership, I think, is something we could have a little broader, longer conversation about. You know, the tech industry suffers from poor leadership. You know, we see it in every area of the industry. People who are working in the tech sector for the wrong reasons and are struggling to sort of maintain a leadership pattern in their organization. So I think that is something, a broader conversation about how do we lead technology skills and drive technology skills across the VMware customer base and the industry broader. Is, I think, is something we should, you know, be more open about talking about.
It's almost another episode on its own, isn't it? Gavin, anything you'd like to add to that?
I'm just really picking up on Martin's comment about rounded skills in individuals. I think as a business, you always want to stay away from hybridizing your capabilities. You get lots and lots of challenges in terms of time slicing and context and switching, which is a real killer to productivity. So I think if we're thinking about the challenge of bridging the gap in FinOps, we've got to sort of think about it from avoiding the trying to create a sort of a role unicorn that doesn't exist today, that ends up suffering from lack of scalability or resilience or career fragmentation, and think about a lot more holistically. You know, what we don't want is a conversation where it's all about the individual and not about the business. So for me, it's more of a top-down conversation about how you manage that.
Yeah. And of course, you can only improve what you measure. So I've got to ask for everybody listening, what are the signals or key metrics that signify when a cloud application is actually accelerating in value and returns, etc.?
Well, it's business value. You know, when you design and build an application, most applications are not built and then never change.
Yeah.
You know, applications are built and built upon and change and evolve over time. And setting those core requirements at early stages to give flexibility in how the application evolves over time is key. And there's you know, various application architectures around APIs, etc., that you can use to do that. But I think that's one of the challenges that we do see, is that, you know, because of the rush for go-to-market quick, let's get this application to market quickly, we don't take enough consideration about how we build that application day one. You know, locking an application into a particular public cloud, for example, using services that are proprietary to a particular public cloud, effectively means that's going to be the mainframe of the future, because you're never going to be able to run that application successfully anywhere else. So day one application architecture is really key, but that's then compounded by the challenges of business, where we need to get to market quickly, and let's just throw something together quickly so we can get out there and fix it later, because the fix later rarely comes.
Yes. Is that because of the project guy? He wants to throw it over the wall, delivering?
Exactly. It's business dry. It's the business dry. You know, IT service business. We don't build applications for fun. Well, in general, it's for serving a business. And sometimes the business drivers mean that we can't make good decisions day one. But that's something I talk about with customers all the time. If you're able to have the right people who can make good decisions day one, and you use services that are portable, design things that are not proprietary and are flexible in how they grow, that gives you far more flexibility further down the line.
Yeah, and Gavin, I suspect you've got more than a few war stories under your belt from this stuff as well.
Look, you know, minimum viable platform engineering is a great way of not avoiding over engineering and learning as you go with when you're making a number of assumptions. I think the kind of the answer for me is it's horses for courses. For me, if you're going to move fast, you need a much tighter alignment between the business expectation and IT. And if you're doing that, then you can start to build out your KPIs, what some of those pathways to those KPIs are going to look like. So again, first principles are really, really important. A bit of planning to go fast rather than going fast and then having to
Yeah, and of course we're having a conversation today at VMware Explore in Barcelona. We've all been thrown together. I know you're incredibly busy. Back-to-back meetings, presentations, lots of conversations. Anything caught your attention here? Anything you're going to be thinking about on the way home from all the announcements and all the conversations you've been having? And Gavin, I'll throw that to you first.
I love the private AI conversation.
Yeah.
I like the fact that VMware's positioning it in the context of what it already does well, that it's enabler for private AI. But actually, it's looked at it as a reference architecture. So it's not saying this is my way or the highway. It's recognizing the open source. It's recognizing all the different capabilities that can give value to business through AI. So of course, it's a really topical conversation. I also really like this coming back a little bit to the data center, because I think we've gone through a process of pivoting towards cloud and following that as a kind of a primary story. Going back to this heritage applications, the right application for the right location, the right cost base. I think hearing a bit more about how VCF as a platform, as opposed to a collection of tools, can be a really, really powerful advantage now.
Yeah, 100%. And Martin, you're probably hearing a lot as well. Anything exciting?
Yeah, absolutely. As a VMware employee, obviously this is a big event for VMware folks who come here. We're very, very busy. Lots of presentations, lots of media and analyst interviews as well. So, but yeah, echoing what Gavin said, private AI is really going to be key for VMware going forward, because we want businesses and enterprises to run those capabilities where the data resides. It makes no sense moving data to cloud to run analytics, and you can't really do federation at the moment from a data analytics perspective. So having those capabilities on-prem and in your data center, whether it's colo, whatever it might be, is going to be a key differentiator for VMware. But do remember that people have been running machine learning, deep learning, predictive AI capabilities on VMware for 10 plus years, more than that. Obviously, we're in a hype cycle for AI and large language models and Gen AI, and being key part, having VMware as a key part of that, I think is strategically important for VMware today and as we go forward. But there's lots, these events are great. We missed out, obviously, during the COVID period where we didn't have these physical events. Seeing the people back here, having these physical events, it makes you realize why they'll never die out and they'll never get replaced by webinars.
Yeah, 100%. And we're also talking about machine learning and predictive learning. But what about human learning? Because there's a real pressure on everyone to be in a state of almost continuous learning now. So I'm going to ask you both a question. Where or how do you self-educate, keep up to speed on all the trends? And Gavin, I'll send that to you first.
For me, it's probably an easier answer. As a CEO, it's actually the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
You don't do continual learning. You're constantly at the fire hydrant, sort of facing a storm of information. So probably a couple of areas for me. So for me, I'm really lucky. I've got a team around me that's constantly providing me collections of insights, experience, and knowledge on a daily basis. Part of what I do means that I get a large external cross-industry network. And so that helps me get outsights.
Yeah. And
through some of those outsights, you then, of course, get introduced to articles and books and things that will give you a completely different perspective on the way the world works. So for me, those three areas are really valuable.
Love that. And Martin, what about yourself?
Yeah, no, I think it's about continuous learning. I don't think it's about, finding subjects and studying. You've got to continuously, evolve your skill set. And that's the nature of working in IT. My role as a chief technologist role and like as a CEO, CTO roles, you always have to evolve as the technology evolves. And, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were here talking about Kubernetes as the next layer. Now Kubernetes is almost like it's like a SCSI driver. It's just there. And what comes on top of Kubernetes afterwards. So everything changes and evolves. This year we're talking about AI. Who knows what we'll be talking about next year? Yeah. It'll be a very different event next year. And we have to evolve. I spend my lunch usually watching YouTube videos. I have a few channels I follow. I watch a few videos at lunchtime. For me, keeping on top of things like DevOps conversations is challenging. I don't have a development background, so I want to be able to have a credible conversation with the development team and an application architecture team. So those types of skills are really important for me. But also keeping on top of where the trends are and what the next thing that I should be learning is, and identifying that's important as well.
Well, I love chatting with you both today. And before I let you go, for anyone listening, just want to find out more information about you, maybe check out your website. Gavin, where would you point everyone?
Yeah, for us, super easy. Xtravirt.com is our website. Xtravirt is obviously misspelled every day. Xtravirt is my is the way it's spelled. But actually, LinkedIn is the best place to find us. If you just follow us on LinkedIn, we'll keep up to date with exactly what we're doing all day.
Awesome. Well, I'll get that link added to the show notes so people can find it. Martin, there's so many different websites and URLs for VMware. Where would you point everywhere?
Yeah, so if you're interested in following me, I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, so follow me on LinkedIn. I have multiple blogs written on our VMware sites as well, which, cover a lot of the subjects that we've talked about today. There's also some ebooks that you'll find if you search for my ebooks. You'll find books about application modernization, multi-cloud, etc. as well.
Well, I appreciate how busy you both are. I know you both got to dash off to your next interview in a few moments. So just enjoy the rest of the show, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
So, big question, everyone. Were you at VMware Explore this year? What were your big takeaways? Was it private AI? Was it something else? Whatever it is, please, I invite you to send me a quick audio message or email or direct message to techblogwriter@outlook.com. If you want to DM me, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. Nice and easy to find. But it's time for me to head back out on that show floor to find another guest. So thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.